Alrighty, so happy Sunday. This is the third time I'm holding this live stream, and I think it's been really beneficial for you who are able to make it to class, and also for me to keep some sort of routine. I was teaching this Sunday morning class for a good year and a half, so it's nice to be able to keep it going even though we're on a different platform. So we will be using blocks today. Now, I do anticipate not many of you at home have blocks, and that's totally fine. If you can see in the background, I've got a plant stand, but it looks like a stool. As you can see, I love stools with plant stands. It brings the we're going to be doing a balance half moon, so we definitely want yoga blocks, and if you don't have them, some sort of stool or a step stool would work fine as well. Let's just see here. Good to see you, Sarah. She's 33 weeks, so somewhat nearing that finish line. If anyone else also wants to share where they are in their pregnancy, I feel sometimes YouTube doesn't let the chats come through as easily, but feel free to send them along. All right, I don't have any announcements from anyone. I do feel in the regular studio class, there wasn't anybody due for a while until April and May, so I don't anticipate any birth announcements anytime soon. But let's get started. So make sure you've got that. Hey there, Alyssa. Make sure you've got that stool or something to. So if you look at what a regular yoga block height is, it's about probably 8 to 10 inches. So obviously my stool is taller than that, and that's totally fine. I'd rather you have something taller than you reaching too far to the ground to keep yourself stable. So it could even be a chair, if you've got a chair around, just something to let you rest comfortably down on. So with that, we're going to start pretty grounded. We're going to start in your tabletop pose. So you can come to your hands and knees. And again, anytime along the way, if you need to send me a little message, I'll be getting up and down to check the screens, both on YouTube and Instagram. So if you ever need to share something, just let me know. So we'll come right into movement here with your cat-cows. Let's take the first round completely exaggerated. So allow the belly button to drop, and I want you to lift your gaze and allow the tailbone to lift towards the ceiling as well. You'll feel this space being created in the sacrum, the low back. You're lifting the tail, allowing the sits bones to separate. And take a couple breaths here, so you're getting some space all along the front of the body, making some space in the belly area. And as you're doing this, you're somewhat pulling the mat towards you and drawing your heart forward. And then let's take that exaggerated opposite pose. We're coming into that cat pose now, where you're pressing the mat away from you. Physically press the mat away, tuck your chin to your chest, hug baby nice and high towards your spine. Feel your tailbone tuck under. Space now in the shoulder blades. Take a couple of breaths here. And then we'll get into it, one breath per pose. The inhale finds your cow pose, where you gaze forward and up. And then the exhale is into that cat pose, where you tuck and round. And so I want you to start finding your breath moving between cat and cow. Then pause at center tabletop. And let's drop down to the forearm. So this is merely just to let go of the wrist. You can give the wrist a spin out. And then softly interlace the fingertips out in front of you. So find this base. My shoulders are directly over my elbows. And you're going to now just rock forward and then rock back. So forward, you might be able to get a little farther than when you rock back, especially if you're further along in your pregnancy. And then pause at center. Now we're just going to go side to side. So the hips go one way, the gaze is going to follow as well, and then go all the way to the opposite side of the mat. So go as far as you feel you can comfortably hold yourself up. And then pause at center. So now we'll connect the dots. So we'll start left and then forward again. So inhale all the way back, and exhale takes you all the way forward. And then continue those. You can definitely find more fluid motion where you're drawing a full circle without any pauses, or you can break it down where you're almost tapping four corners within the mat. Allow this movement to be nice and controlled. So you are allowing your body to move in a way that feels comfortable and somewhat freeing. So you're not forcing anything on the body here to go deeper than it needs to go. Just find some comfortable rhythm. And then pause the next time that you've reached the top end of the mat. And then we'll start to take it in the opposite direction. So to the left, all the way back, to the right, and then forward again. And then linking the breath, just as you did on the first side. A way to think about this, these hip circles, is if you attached a pen to one of your hips, you're drawing as big of a circle as you can. And then we'll think about completing the circle you're in, taking it back to the top of the mat, and then right back at center. Into your child's pose from there. So take your time, finish up. Knees can go a little wider, and now we'll sink the hips down towards the heels. So if traditional child's pose isn't accessible to you anymore because you've got a baby growing inside, take it to the forearms. And if that's just not all that great for you, you can sit up even taller. And that's where your stool or your blocks could come into play. You could rest even a little bit taller. So I'll be doing everything with the stool today because I anticipate many of you don't have your blocks at home. So it could look a little something like this. My belly is still getting a resting shape. My hips are still sinking down towards my heels, but I'm getting a little more height, some more space for a growing, expanding belly. Take some of your deepest breaths of the morning. And then let's come out of that, returning to your tabletop hands and knees. So from here, take a moment to just extend each leg back, give a little shake through that knee to reset the knee joint on each leg. And then the right leg will stay lifted, drop the toes down to the back of the mat, press the heel to the back of the wall. We're gonna work on opening up the hip. Now I want you to take a peek. This first round is going to be just to see that you've got the alignment right. So we're going to lift that the right foot off of the mat. And then I want you to slide the left shin a little wider. It might be towards that opposite side of the mat. And then we're just stacking that right hip on top of the left one. You should still see your foot behind you. Try not to let that foot disappear all the way to the opposite side of the mat. You should see the whole foot and the ankle coming out of the right straight up from the hip. Then we're gonna re-square it off so the right hip point faces down, and then tap those toes to the mat again. So an inhale breath, we're gonna lift up. Exhale is to stack. Inhale, re-square it off, and exhale, tap down. With the breath, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. One more, inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Lower that right knee down. Give both of the wrists a circle out. And we'll take that to the other side. So we're preparing the hip for a later pose. Let's straighten that left leg back and then drop the toes down. You're pressing the heel backwards to get length in the calf. Press the mat away from you and now lift that left leg. Imagine you are stomping the wall behind you, so you have a very strong leg. Now stack the hip and look behind you. Make sure you can see the whole foot. You might slide this right shin a little wider. It gives you more foundation. And then let the toes face down and then tap down. So inhale, leg up. Exhale to stack hips. Inhale, square them off. And exhale, tap down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, stack. Inhale, square. And exhale, tap. Last round, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Draw that left knee back in. Take it back down to your forearms. Give the wrists a circle. And then we're going to stack the joints. Shoulders are over my elbows. My hips are over my knees. And I want you to let the belly go. Let the heart reach down to the mat. And then allow your head to be nice and heavy. You are fully supported by the stacking of the joints, so you can let everything else go and just focus on some deep breath. You can always add some movement here, some swaying of the hips, shaking the head, releasing the neck, shoulders. Some tiny little baby cat cows could be here as well. And then very carefully make your way back up to your hands and knees. And let's take it one step further, downward facing dog. Toes tuck under, hips are going to rise. And now would be a great time to move around in this downward dog. You can pedal out the feet. You can allow one knee to cross all the way over to the opposite side of the mat. You can allow both heels to drop one side and then the other. And then let the feet go pretty wide, maybe let by the edges of the mat, and walk the hands backwards. The elbows will rest on top of the thighs for your forward fold. Still pressing the heart forward so you have a long spine, but gaze is down. Hands to the tops of the thighs. Let's come up halfway, gaze forward. And now we'll come all the way up to standing. A big reach of the arms up, take a breath in. And then exhale, hands heart center. Take 2 more of those. Bring the feet to a comfortable space. Little bit, about 6 inches still probably between the feet, totally fine. And bend into the knees. What I want you to focus on is bringing the energy of the thighs inward without letting the knees come towards touch. Weight is sinking back towards the heels, and the arms can reach up, so chair pose. Chair pose can also be taken hands at heart center, and it can also be taken with a little hinge forward to release some of the low back you might be feeling. Now we're going to hold this chair pose focusing on the breath and strengthening on the tops of your thighs and your pelvic floor. So hone in on the deep breath. Try to tune out whatever is around you, whatever you are feeling, and really just come into your breath. Start to feel the energy, the legs are firing up, the breath is active, stay with it. And then with your next inhale, straighten those legs, big reach up, pause here, reaching those fingertips high to the ceiling. And then take it right back down. So we'll come into another chair pose. We're going to find dynamic movement in this one. So find that bend in the knees. You don't have to take it super low, just a little bend. And the arms are going to go wide. Bend the elbows, and now bring the forearms in. So you can definitely stay here, or you can come to an eagle wrap where that right elbow dips underneath to find the palms touching. You could also wrap the arms around the body. So any one of these is fine. With the next inhale, take a lift up, think cat-cow, tailbone back, and the exhale to curl in. We'll take 3 more. Inhale, extend, and then exhale, contract. Good. Twice more. Find your breath. And then come back to center. Straighten the legs, release the arms, straighten them out to the side, and then you can rest them down by your sides. Let the feet step a little wider. Reach up again, inhale. Take a forward fold. Few breaths here. Give the head a shake. Release the jaw if you're clenching there. Look to the top of the mat and return downward dog. Walk the hands forward. The feet may come a little closer together again. Take a couple of breaths here. All right, let's bring the knees down to the mat. Find that tabletop. And then once again, extend right leg in the air. So this time it's completely lifted up. Check in to notice that the toes are facing down. Try not to find that stacking open of the hip. You can stay here pressing the mat away from you. Hug baby a little closer to your spine. You could also unload that left arm, reaching it forward. This requires a lot of focus to the breath, strong body, active muscles. Go for one more deep breath. And now let's drop the hand and the toes down. So the toes at the back of the mat. Once again, shift this left shin towards the side of the mat, and now let's drop the right heel at center. Right arm is gonna lift up, so we've got the stacking of the hips now. You can circle that right wrist out. And take one or two big helicopter arms going one direction. And then take that same amount going the opposite direction. And you'll pause with that right arm lifted in the air. We found this is your grounded half moon. Foot drops down if you took that, and then one or two breaths to reach the right arm all the way across towards the top end of your mat. And then look down, right hand comes down, come back to your tabletop and find a child's pose so the hips can sink down towards the heels. Again, if you used your block or your stools to give your belly a little more space, it could look a little something like this. And then let's take this the opposite direction. So those blocks, once again, stool out of the way. And take your left leg in the air behind you. So toes are facing down to start. You have a nice strong back. Kind of zip up baby a little higher. And now if you took it, that right arm can extend forward as well. Don't hold your breath here. Breathe as strongly as you can. One more full breath in and out. Hands down, toes drop at the back of the mat, and this right shin can now slide wider. That's going to give you a nice base. Drop the left heel towards center, and now the left arm can reach up towards the ceiling. You can circle that wrist out. Let's take one or two circles, one direction with the arm, getting full shoulder rotation. And then also take it in the opposite direction. Meet with that left arm straight up overhead. Optional balance if you took it. You're using weight in that right hand to now lift that left foot off of the mat. And you're pressing that left foot back. So you have a very strong leg. Remember this shape, we're gonna go for it a little later. Lower that foot down and now reach that left arm in opposition. Big stretch for the side body. Look down, left hand down. Draw that left knee back to center and you can circle out right wrist. From here, downward facing dog. Tuck under, let the hips rise. Take a couple of petals, shakes, moves around. And then let the feet go wide once again. Walk the hands backwards, elbows find the thighs for your forward fold. Let's come up halfway, press the thighs away from you, and then all the way up to standing. Well, the feet can come a little closer together, and we'll come into that chair pose on the other side. So a comfortable space between the feet, the weight rests in your heels, so hands can find heart, find the legs, arms wide, Bend the elbows, forearms in, and then take the shape you found first side, staying here, left one going underneath, or wrapping the arms around. And we're going to take 4 rounds of this. So an inhale to lift up, tailbone back, and the exhale to tuck and round. Inhale, lift, and exhale, tuck. Take 2 more rounds. Pausing at center, straighten those legs, extend the arms out, press the walls away, and then they can rest down by your sides. You can give a shake. We're going to come into some standing work now. So you'll come to the top of your mat and you'll have whatever you're using, blocks, stool, have them right at the top of your mat. So I'm going to use the stool the whole time. Just in case you've got something similar, you'll be able to see how that's used as well. If you've got blocks, it's going to be no different than what we do in class. So bring whatever you're using right out to the center of the mat. Step your left foot just behind whatever prop you're using. Hands at the hips, take a lean forward, and then we're stepping this right foot backwards. Now this could be a fine shape distance between the feet. If you feel you want to go a little wider or longer, heel toe that back foot back. Those right toes are angled somewhat forward though, and now bend in your left knee. So we're coming to warrior 1. The arms are going to reach all the way up overhead. If this ever becomes too much to keep the arms overhead, hands heart center. Find a nice good lunge into that front knee, finding strength in that leg. Once again, into that pelvic floor. And you might feel a nice stretch happening along the outside or front of the right leg. If you still have your arms up overhead, place them at heart center. We'll find a little bit of movement here. Inhale, straighten that front leg, reach the arms up. And then exhale, hands to heart, rebend that knee. Inhale up. And exhale, bend. Let's go for 3 more. Last one. Pause here. Left hand slides inside that left thigh. Right arm up and open behind you. So warrior 1 twist. If this right arm feels too heavy, rest that hand on the back thigh. Let's face forward again. Sweep up for 1 breath. Now let's find that prop you're using. Hands down, bring that prop inside the left foot. So the left foot might even heel toe a little wider. Give yourself some space. We're now going to work on straightening through that left leg. Hands are pressing down away from whatever you're using, and think about drawing your heart forward. So you can see I have a very flat back here. My back is still working even though I'm in a fold. All right, we're going to take that half moon shape we've been prepping towards the whole class. So you'll bend into this front knee again, and you'll likely slide whatever prop you're using way out in front of you. And now draw the back foot closer in. We're going to lift that leg up. The toes are facing out, and that right hand can come up to your hip or all the way up overhead. So here's your half moon shape. Anywhere along the way is fine. You can definitely stay grounded if you prefer to keep that right foot on the mat. Taking 1 last breath wherever you are. And then if you're lifted, Relower that right foot down. Let's all bring the hands back to whatever prop you're using and slide that prop over towards the right side of the mat. Let's come into a wide-legged forward fold. So you can let the heels kick out a little farther. Maybe it's more comfortable where the toes are poking out a bit more. You can stay hands grounded, maybe elbows. Whatever you're doing, let the head release, give it a shake. The hips can rock side to side. So specifically in prenatal yoga classes, I give you the cues and the options to move around while you're in a pose. You might find something completely different that feels nice. So you might be in this wide-legged forward fold doing little cat-cows or staying completely still or shaking the head. There's no right or wrong in the pose as long as it feels good to you and you're being safe in the body. Climb your way back up so that your hands are grounded on your prop. And the right hand is going to come more directly underneath your face. Left hand to your left hip. And we're going to turn open towards the left. You could also extend that left arm up towards the ceiling if you like, or even wrap it around your low back, and it works on kind of finding that opposite hip. So just a gentle twist here. Now let's swap. That left hand comes more centered. Right hand can find hip as you turn towards the back of the mat. Right arm could lift up or it could fall around for the opposite hip. And then right hand comes down. So let's bring the heels to face in, bend into the knees, each hand to the top of the thigh, come up and straighten all the way up. So you'll heel toe the rest of the way into center. Pick up whatever lovely prop you are using and return it to the top of your mat. So we'll take all of that going the opposite side. So you'll bring your right foot just behind your prop. Hands can find your hips. And again, a lean forward and a comfortable step back. If you then want to go deeper, you can heel toe that back foot longer and farther away. Right foot can also step wider if you need more space for hips. Bend into your right knee. For warrior one, the arms can stay reaching up. At any time, you can place hands at heart center. A couple of alignment parts. So you're working on it, bending into that right knee. You're going to feel that thigh fire up. And see if you can press even the pinky edge of that back foot down. Stretching the front of the hip, building strength in the leg. Take some deep breaths. Place hands at heart if they're not yet there. And then we'll move. Straightening that front leg. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to heart and rebend. Inhale, smooth, sweeping up. And exhale, down. Let's take 3 more full rounds. Really find your breath. Pausing in that warrior one shape, hands to heart center. Right hand slides inside right thigh, left arm up and open for your twist. Now you can keep that arm lifted or drop it to the back leg. Inhale, arms overhead, back to center. And exhale, let's take it down to your prop. Prop comes inside that right foot. Right foot can go wider. And we're working on straightening through that right leg. So we're getting into the hamstring, maybe even up into the glute. And you're actively pressing down on your prop so that the back stays as flat as you can get it. And you're gazing down. Prepping into half moon, ardha chandrasana from here. So rebend into that front knee. Your prop is going to go way out in front of you. As you straighten that front leg, the back one is going to kind of slide in, and you're lifting that leg off of the mat. The toes are facing to the left. You can stay here, 2 hands down, or that left hand up to hip, and maybe even all the way up overhead. So trying to go as far as you did on the first side. The foot can stay grounded, lifted, 2 hands down or 1. Take 1 more breath. And then lower that foot back down. Take your prop with you off the left side of the mat. The legs are going to straighten, finding that wide-legged forward fold. I'm just going to turn around. So keeping both hands grounded, find that comfortable position with the feet. And then we're going to go 1 arm at a time this side. So right arm up, inhale. Exhale it down. Left arm up, inhale. And exhale it down. To continue with your breath, we'll take about 5 more rounds, but that could definitely be fewer or more depending on your breath rate. Take your final round, finishing with that left arm lifted and then lowered. Let's come into a forward fold. So we'll take a nice, good chunk of rounds of breath here. Make some space for the low back in this forward fold. Take some calming, deep rounds of breath. As always, little movements if you like them. Go for 2 more rounds of deep breath. Slowly make your way back up to your hands on whatever prop you're using. Let the heels come in once again. Bend the knees, each hand to the thighs. Good. Take a pause here. Notice how my shoulders are in my ears. That's totally fine. Really feel nice and supported here. Climb yourself up. And then you can heel toe the feet closer in. So your stool is likely in the middle of whatever you're using, rather, is near the middle of your mat. Keep it there. It can shove off of your mat, but keep it nearby. Take a walk all the way to the back end of your mat. Let the feet go a little wider. Take a breath up, inhale. Then just drop your right hand down to your right side thigh and reach the left arm up and over. Back to center, right arm up. Now let's have that left hand drop down and now up and over with the right. And then back to center, both arms up overhead. Exhale, take that fold, elbows to the thighs. The head can give a shake, a nod. Take a look out to the top of your mat. And let's find your final downward facing dog. So this final down dog can be in movement. Again, options could be letting both heels swing to one side. That gets into outer leg, outer hip, and side body. You can simply pedal the feet out, which gets into the calves and the hamstrings. You can shake the head, neck, and shoulders. You can also breathe without any movement. 2 more rounds of breath. And then lower those knees down to the mat. Coming into a side saddle sit from here. So we're going to let the feet sweep over to the right, and you'll sit yourself right down. Finding more like 90-degree angles with the knees is what we're going to do. So you can bring that left shin out in front of you, so it's about parallel to the top end of the mat, and you'll have the right shin kind of in line with the side edge of your mat. If you can, bring the top of that right foot back behind you, but if that's not working for your knee, you can keep the ankle rest in. Feel how the hips are doing opposite things here. The right one is lifted up, and the left one is very grounded. Left hand is going to set just off the side of the mat, right hand to the side of that right hip. And I want you to take that right hip and press it forward, and then take that right hip and draw it back. So we're really just guiding that hip over and up and then down. Take a few more rounds of that. And then we'll come back to center. Right arm is going to reach up and have it slice across over to that left knee. And the right hand will stay grounded. Left hand may be able to sweep further behind you to find a twist. Right arm reaches up towards the ceiling, and then you can reach all the way back for the back wall. Now, if your body happens to be one where the top of that right foot is completely grounded down, you could lift your hips up towards the ceiling. If your ankle is what's down, it's just too much pressure on that joint, I would not lift those hips up. If you're floated, lower back down. Let's all face forward. Guide this right leg to straighten off the side of the mat. All right, so it'll look a little something like this. You can draw that left foot closer into your body. We're coming into gate pose. So that prop that you've been using over by that straight leg. The elbow is going to rest down, head into that hand, left arm up and over. Now, if this is too low, if your prop is a little bit too low, you can keep the right hand on that leg and just reach the left arm up and over. You can be in any one of these shapes. The goal being left side body opening. Good. Come out of that. Let's re-straighten this left leg now. So the legs are in this wide shape, and you can bring your prop right in between the legs. Hands behind you, and kind of bump those hips forward. So you really feel the pelvis extending forward towards the front of your mat. See if you can circle the ankles out a bit, spread the toes, and then flex those toes back towards your face and sweep the arms up. A lot of deep, deep core muscle working here. Let's take a twist towards the right and just tap the hands down on either side of that leg. Inhale, back to center, and exhale, tap left. One more each side. Inhale, exhale right, inhale, exhale left. Inhale, center, exhale down onto your prop. It could be elbows, it could be stacked forearms, you could have a pillow on top of whatever prop you're using, but find a forward fold. Walk yourself back up. Set that block over towards the left. We're going to come into that pinwheel shape on this side. So the best bet is to take a hold of this right shin, make it parallel to the top end of your mat, and then take a hold, bend into that left knee, and draw that leg so it's parallel with the long edge of your mat. And then either ankle grounded or the top of that foot, whatever worked on the first side. Right hand is going to be wide, left hand to that left hip. Feel the asymmetry in the hips, and we're going to exaggerate that. So lift and press that hip forward, and then drag that hip down and back. And a couple more of those. We're just getting into that right outer hip, left outer hip rather. Making your way back to center. Let's keep the right hand where it is, left arm up, and now twist. Left hand to that right knee, and the right hand can make its way around to support you in this twist. The right hand is planted, the left arm reaches up, and then reach it back. Now again, if you've got the top of that left foot down, you can use it to lift the hips up, but if you've got the ankle down and the toes out, just reach back. Lower if you're still lifted, and let's all turn to face forward. This left leg is now going to re-straighten off the side of the mat. You can hug the right foot a little closer in. Hips are definitely open here, and that prop is right by your straight leg. Resting down there, if you've got it, it can simply rest, or you can bring your head to your hand, right arm up and over. Again, if your prop is too low, you can also stay fairly upright here and use that left hand on your left leg. and then come upright and out of that. You can take this right foot and bring it a little away from the body, and then take a hold of left leg, bring it in. So the feet are to touch for your bound ankle pose. Your prop can come inside this little diamond shape you have. Hands behind you, press down as you press hips forward. You can stay here, allowing the collarbones to find space, allowing the shoulder blades to retract, making some space in the chest. You could also take this into your forward fold. Elbows rest down, stacked forearms. Any of these along the way is going to be fine for your final pose of class. We'll be here for about 8 to 10 breaths, really allowing the body to start to slow down. And then you can slowly sit yourself back up, upright. So we've come to the end of class. I want to thank you so much for joining in today, both on Instagram and on YouTube. As you know, all of my studios are closed. I'm going to continue to offer every single one of these classes for everybody, available to all on my YouTube channel and sometimes live on Instagram. So feel free to keep coming and attending the classes. If you are, however, able to give a contribution at the end of class, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm going to put my PayPal and my Venmo up in front of the screen now. Any amount is appreciated, but again, these classes will remain open to all. So in prenatal, your Shavasana is going to be side laying on your left side. If you happen to have a blanket, a pillow, a pregnancy pillow, you can hug that as usual, laying on your left side. Another option is to prop up something like a big tall pillow on the stool that you have and lay in an incline recline. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. But the safest probably at home is to just lay on your left side. Soak up this time that you've got to just chill on your mat in your Shavasana. Take a couple moments to share these deep breaths and this calming energy with your baby. And with hands at my heart, I take a big breath in and a big breath out. And I thank you so much for joining in practice today. Namaste to each and every one of you. Be well.